So in this order, Cantwell, Ayotte, and Pryor, unless anybody else comes back, that's what we'll do.
Thank you,
Senator.
Ms. Trottenberg. Thank you so much for mentioning the freight mobility efforts of the Department of Transportation. I look forward to working with you on that implementation, and very big priority for helping to create more jobs as it relates to exports and to making sure the product is competitive moving out of our borders. And Ms. Clyburn, I know my colleague Senator Boxer mentioned this letter on media consolidation. I sent my own personal letter, but I'm certainly supporting Senator Sanders' letter as well, and feel very strongly that the Commission may be heading towards a resolution of disapproval by Congress if it continues down this route. I mean, this is not the Rupert Murdoch view of, the world. We are saying that if you want to have an independent media, they need to be independent, not consolidated. And so we will be loud and boisterous about what the Commission is intending to do if it continues to follow this path.
I appreciate your engagement.
Thank you. Mr. Wright, I wanted to ask you, I know my colleagues have asked you a little bit about your recusal comments, and you and I had a chance to talk in my office a little bit about this. But, the FTC can sometimes move at a glacial pace. So while you're saying you would recuse yourself from things that are, a conflict before the FTC, are you talking about all current enforcement matters before the FTC? What I'm saying is that 2-year period of time, there could be something that's before the FTC right now, and 2 years from now, it could still be before the FTC. So even though you've said, well, I'll recuse myself for a 2-year period, these are things that are currently before them. So,
yes, I appreciate the opportunity to clarify and expand on our earlier discussion about recusal obligations. The 2-year period comes from the President's Ethics Pledge. If a case triggering any potential conflict of interest as it relates to Google or any other potential case that would trigger a conflict based on disclosures I've made to the committee and also to the Commission, I would then go to the ethics officials at the FTC who are experts in exactly what the recusal and other conflict of interest obligations are beyond that period. I'm not an expert in those obligations. I can assure you when and if there is any obligation under the letter or the spirit of the recusal, of conflict of interest standards, I will recuse myself.
well, I think I'll probably ask you a more direct question in writing, because you've obviously been involved on behalf of some interest, and if you are, and that time period could take longer than 2 years to resolve those individual issues. And so I'm not going to leave it up to a trust of you're going to check in 2 years from now with the FTC. I want to know if you were involved in a case now involving a matter currently before the FTC, and it's not resolved within 2 years, whether you're going to recuse yourself, yes or no. Not you're going to consult with somebody. I want to know. But we'll get you that in writing, so you'll have a firm viewpoint of that, and then you can give us a response.
I appreciate that.
And then I think Senator Boxer asked this question, but so if somebody has paid you financially for the type of work that you've done, will you recuse yourself from matters revolving around those writings?
Yes, I have dozens, over 70 academic publications, books, a case book, and a handful of those writings I've received funding either directly or indirectly, either for support for research or through a think tank. All of those have been disclosed both to the committee and to the Commission. In those cases, for example, in Google, I will recuse myself at a minimum for the period of the 2 years under the President's Ethics Pledge.
But that's why I'll come back to you on that, because if you've written about it, consulted on it, it doesn't matter if it's a case that's now before the Commission and it takes 3 years to resolve. I want to know whether you're going to recuse yourself. So, okay, I need to move on because I don't have a lot of time. I'm trying to help the chair here run her hearing. Can you state your views on the FTC's rulemaking, Section 811, pursuant to the Energy Bill of 2007, that prohibits market manipulation, and whether you believe the FTC's rules are accurate and appropriate in the interpretation of that underlying statute? you and I had a chance to talk about this. I'm not trying to get whether you know the specific section of the code as much as this issue which you and I have discussed. We have given the FTC the ability to police oil markets for anti-manipulation behavior. The Federal Energy Regulatory Commission has had this authority as it relates to oil as it relates to electricity and natural gas markets, and have used that authority, I believe, appropriately. The FTC has more recently had this authority. It took, I think, until 2009 to get the rulemaking. I want to understand whether you are solidly behind the use of that statute and how you see it being implemented.
Absolutely. Since our last discussion, one of the things I said is I've traditionally been an antitrust guy, and as a non-antitrust rule, sort of outside of my initial expertise. So I did go back, I've looked at the rule, I've read some of the comments around the rule, and had some time to learn more about it in anticipation of having this conversation today. Excuse me. I also understand the disparity in the activity level between, as you mentioned, FERC versus the FTC's investigations under the rule. I understand the rule was designed to be implemented or designed in or around a 10b-5-like fraud standard. I believe that protecting consumers in oil and gas markets is very important. This is one of the markets that affects everybody and affects everybody in an important way. I can commit to you that where there are violations of the rule, I will support enforcing the law. I do not know, because I'm not privy to, I do understand there's an investigation underway, but I'm not privy to any of the details of that investigation, or why, for example, there's the disparity in activity level between, for example, FERC and the FTC. I can also commit to you that if confirmed, I would talk to the staff to try to find out what's going on with respect to enforcement with the rule, why the numbers are different. I could commit to talking to folks at FERC or the SEC who are themselves implementing this rule in a more active manner, and try to get a sense at what the obstacles are.
I think my time has expired, so we'll probably follow that up as well in writing, and if
Absolutely.
you could respond to that. But this will be a very critical and important element of my deciding about your nomination. I don't think the FTC is being aggressive enough, and I'm sure is not going to support anybody to be on the FTC that isn't going to help in implementing this new law in an area where consumers deserve protection. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Senator, we are going to have a second round.